So before we kick things off, we're going to let the two people running for village clerk come up here and make opening statements, and then we'll have the mayoral candidates come up here. And just so you guys know, we are aware that all three podiums are different sizes, and the candidates actually drew names out of a hat to see which candidate gets which podium. So everything's got to be fair. To start things off, Carol Krikorian, I got it right. She will give a 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you. Hello, I am Carol Krikorian, and I'm running for the position of village clerk. My husband Jacques and I have been residents for over 20 years. We have raised our 3 children here. We have 2 girls, Carrie and Laura, 23 and 17, and a son, Eric, who is 20. I graduated from Robert Morris College, and after that worked for several years at the First National Bank of Chicago in the Health, Education, and Municipalities Division. For the last 15 years, I have worked for School District 74, first as a special education aide, and most recently for the last 8 years as the school secretary at Lincoln Hall Middle School. From 2001 to 2005, I served as your village clerk under the leadership of the wonderful Peter Moy. During that time, among other things, I officially transcribed and prepared all minutes from Committee of the Whole meetings, Village Board regular meetings, and executive session meetings. I helped to ensure that the village ordinances, zoning ordinances, and resolutions were completed and filed in a timely manner, and that codification of these documents was kept current. I am an active member of the Lincolnwood PTA. My past community involvement includes serving as a board member for Lincolnwood Girls Softball and volunteering as a religious education instructor at Queen of All Saints Basilica. I believe the village clerk's responsibilities are very important. As clerk, I would ensure that the official minutes are accurate and reflective of all comments made during the meeting. One should be able to read the minutes and clearly understand what decisions were made, as well as how those decisions were reached, because I believe that oftentimes the discussions surrounding those decisions are just as important, if not more important, than the final decision. I would be honored to serve as your clerk again. Please support my party, the Forward Vision Party, Peter Moy for mayor, Martin Yocana, Jennifer Spino, and Mary Mazer for trustees. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. And the next opening statement will be Burl Herman. Burl?
I'm Burl Herman, and I'm currently the village clerk here in Lincolnwood. I've been in Lincolnwood for 45 years. My husband and I raised our 2 children here, and I've been involved with School District 74 since 1970 when my little girl, walked into kindergarten. I've been employed by the school district as an aide, a teacher, and program coordinator for English language learners, as well as coordinator for the early childhood screening program. I remain employed by District 74 as a coordinator of an after-school program for language learners in Lincoln Hall and Rutledge Hall. This is a program that is funded by a state grant, not by School District 74. I was a PTA board member and president of the Lincolnwood School Foundation, and I also worked to pass 2 successful referenda. Served on the Village Human Relations Commission, and I was the recipient of the 2011 Madeline Grant Volunteer Award. I'm currently the chair of the Park and Recreation Department's Multicultural Task Force, whose mission it is to increase park services to those from all of our diverse communities. When I retired from my full-time position with District 74 in 2005, I ran for and was elected a village clerk. I followed Carol. During my tenure as clerk, I've increased voter registration by actively going out to register voters at their homes when necessary, at Lincolnwood Fest, and I've sent notices home with Todd and Rutledge Hall students explaining the process for registration in 14 languages. Excuse me. I've also gone to Niles West High School to register voters, and those new voters are very exciting to register, as are our senior citizens at Lincolnwood Place, many of whom have told me, who have thanked me because they haven't missed an election since the 40s. The clerk's office receives many phone calls from residents who are having issues which need to be resolved. When possible, I provide assistance, but most often I direct people. It's been my pleasure to work with the terrific staff. I hope that I will be reelected, as I hope that my slate will be reelected. Georgia Telaganis, Larry Elster, John Swanson, and Reese Gretsch. Thank you. Thank you to the patch.
Thank you, Bill. Where were all of you guys yesterday? No, I'm totally kidding. So we're going to get started here. The candidates, the mayoral candidates, are going to come up here and give their opening statements. So candidates, if you can please take your spots. By the way, we only have one microphone, so we're going to be sharing a microphone today. Just so everyone knows, the candidates will have 3 minutes to give an opening statement, and the first opening statement will be given by Georgia.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for those...
If I could just, yeah, please speak into the mic.
Good evening, and thank you for coming out tonight, and thank you to the people who are listening at home. Lincolnwood has been home to my family for 29 years. My husband and I raised our twin sons here who are now adults. It was a great village to raise children in, and it's still a great village for families to live in, to retire in, to do business in. For this reason, I am running for mayor. I feel the village needs fresh, new leadership in the mayoral office. For those who don't know me, I was twice elected to office in Lincolnwood. First as village clerk in 1997, where I worked with Mayor Grant, and I learned how to build consensus and a vision for the community. I was then elected in 2003 to the Lincolnwood Public Library, where I served 6 years, 3 of those as president. During that time, I negotiated the sale of the property and added the parking lot. This was not done by just one person. I had a wonderful board and good directors. In doing that, I learned how to be financially careful and use the taxpayers' money and ensure that it was spent properly. Through the years, I have served as president of the Friends of the Lincolnwood Library. The function there is to raise needed funds for the library beyond its budget. I have also been appointed to the Vision 2020 committee and served in various schools on the PTAs. For the past 10 years, I've been on the Fire and Police Commission, where we make decisions on hiring new candidates for police officers. I am an experienced, dedicated leader in the community, and it is my privilege to serve in this community. My commitment has been recognized with the Madeline Grant Award in 2010. Throughout this time, I find that I am able to build consensus. My management style has been consensus builder. Thank you, Mayor Turi, for 8 years of service. However, there's a problem with those last 8 years. I found that you have not been transparent and honest, and you have used your position to manipulate the established processes in the village and undermine policies. You lost the support of the entire current board of trustees. All the sitting trustees resigned from your party and refused to run with you. This is because you placed your needs before those of the community. Clearly, this is a vote of no confidence. Peter, thank you for your service, but for 8 years, you have not taken an active role in...
It's been 3 minutes.
Lincolnwood needs fresh, transparent, and honest leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. If If we could actually hold from applause just for the debate, the sake of the debate. And thank you for your opening remarks. Mr. Terry, you have the next opening statement.
Thank you. I have a public announcement first before we get started. If anyone is here for the blood drive, you need to be at the police and fire training room rather than in here, so you're in the wrong place. I'm ready.
It's all yours.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Skokie Patch and our host, George Sleffo, for sponsoring tonight's forum. For the past 8 years, I've been the mayor of the Village of Lincolnwood. Anyone who has looked at my record knows what I've accomplished these past 8 years. This includes bringing residents and small business savings in their electrical bills, involving our youth in the establishment of the Rescue Rangers, which helps seniors, to improving the bond rating in this terrible market, and stopping NICOR from sending 192 trucks per day filled with contaminated soil passing through our village for 2 years, disrupting traffic, destroying roadways, and bringing real hardship to anyone who lives or works near Touhy Avenue. But the past is not why we're here to discuss. So much is almost done, and so much needs to be done. We are finally this close to working with the new owners of the Purple Hotel site in getting the hotel campus back producing sales tax, property tax, and the hotel tax, which was created in my first term. With the possibility of help from TIF financing, we will be on the verge of revitalizing the Lincoln-Devon corridor without significant impact to property taxes or cash flows to our public schools and library once we reach an intergovernmental agreement. Our prior Northeast Industrial TIF has had that kind of agreement, and any future TIFs will include provisions to keep our District 74 schools and library within Lincolnwood whole wherever possible. Over the next 4 years, we need to bring down the charges for water and natural gas. I have a plan in place to reduce natural gas costs. We need to make our business community even greater than it is now. We need to have a village board who understands they represent the entire village, not just the area in which they live. We have a very diverse population here in Lincolnwood, requiring we move forward to meet the needs of everyone in the village. Only one mayoral candidate has the proven ability to make these things happen. And he's speaking to you right now. The choice is simple. We elect a proven leader or risk losing what it has taken 8 years to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Sleffo, I have one request. If I might, I'd like to utilize my savings of time for my closing remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. Peter Moy, your next 3 minutes opening statement.
Good evening. First, I'd like to debate Mr. Terry regarding the only candidate who has a proven record of achievement in this community, and I will respond. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Peter Moy. I've been a resident for 24 years. I am 57 years, 11 months, 30 days, and 17 hours old. Tomorrow's my birthday. I am married to Jean and have 3 grown kids, Lauren, 23, Jackie, 20, and Brandon, 17. I graduated from the University of Illinois at Chicago with a bachelor's degree in accounting, and I am a certified public accountant. I was the vice president of financial regulation at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and a pit trader for 19 years. I left the pits recently and have returned to accounting and tax consulting work. Now, I also have more time to spend giving back to the community that was so good to me and my family. I currently serve on the board of directors of a nonprofit organization located in Rogers Park called the Well of Mercy. This organization provides shelter, education, medical, and counseling services for single teenage mothers and their children. As for my background in politics, in 1995, I ran for and was elected to the Board of Trustees in our village and served for 5 years until 2000. In 2001, I ran for, was elected the village president, and served in that capacity until 2005, when I declined to run again for personal reasons. During my tenure as village president, I was instrumental to making significant improvements to the village. The new business road through the Northeast Industrial Area, known as the Northeast Parkway, helps eliminate heavy truck traffic from Pratt, and most importantly, provided the village with an opportunity to increase sewer capacity by redirecting stormwater from this area to the town center at the Flenching Pond. The construction of our aquatic center in Prozo Park has been a major success and is very popular among residents and non-residents. The project was financed using a minimal increase in home rule sales tax, paid mostly by non-residents, which did not alter consumers' spending habits in any way. The new parking lot in the Toohey Crawford Business District allowed for improved accessibility to businesses in the area. The following new businesses came to our village under my leadership: Lowe's, Kohl's, North Shore Medical, Stewart 41, CVS, and Lover Porsche. In fact, Kohl's was locked into a 15-year revenue sharing agreement with the village, which would ensure the vitality of the town center in the event of an economic downturn. Additionally, I led the village to the successful completion of several economic development improvements, including Logan Mercedes dealership expansion, Goldsinger's Toyota complete renovation, the construction of the MB Financial Bank, Dominic's, and I also worked for the construction of the new and improved walking site on Lincoln Avenue. These were significant improvements to existing Lincolnwood sites, all initiated under my tenure. My administration demonstrated fiscal responsibility by decreasing the amount of money spent by the village for the 2 consecutive years following the recession after 9/11. We performed our job with honesty and integrity and were fair in all areas of the legislative process. Since the time I left office, I've followed the ongoings in the community as an interested observer, and on occasion I've spoken out on issues affecting our schools and village. Some may have considered my comments divisive, but I believe my voice reflects the voice of many residents who are angry, who are frustrated that the problems that exist at all levels of government have started to permeate our community.
It's been 3 minutes.
I sense that time has come for me to offer our community an alternative, at least the opportunity for an open dialogue. I believe that Lincoln is a great community to live in and raise a family for many reasons, but I'm running for mayor because I believe Lincolnwood needs change. So it remains this way going forward. I hope that in the next 2 hours, I will convince residents that my ideas would have...
Thank you, Mr. Moy. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I have to be fair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moy. So we're going to start things off. The way the questions are going to work is Mr. Turley's going to answer the first question, and then it's just going to move down the line to Georgia and Peter. Georgia will answer the second question, and then it's going to move down the line, and then Peter will answer the third question, and so on. Each candidate has 2 minutes to respond to each question, and rebuttals are encouraged. If you guys want to make a rebuttal, just simply make eye contact with me. If I give you a nod, I'll introduce you. You have 1 minute to make a rebuttal, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of rebuttals tonight. To start things off, we're going to open up with our first question, and I'm going to throw some stats here. Currently, Lincolnwood has 3 TIF districts that encompass 55% of all commercial areas in Lincolnwood. Now, there are talks of adding another, the Devon Lincoln TIF district, which would encompass 70% of all Lincolnwood commercial businesses. Where do you stand on this 4th TIF district? Are you for it or against it?
This seems to have gained a lot of traction in terms of some misunderstandings in how TIFs work. The importance of a TIF is this. What would you rather have happen on Lincoln Avenue if it is left as it is now, without TIF to drive it to a point where it has become more attractive to develop sidewalks, outside types of dining areas, better street lighting, and better access? What do you think will happen? It will deteriorate. Deterioration leads to stagnation. It is critical that we spur the development of that area. It is nearly totally vacant at this point. A very difficult thing for a village to lose a revenue stream of sales tax that could help not only in the near future, but for the next generation. That's why I am in favor of continuing and adding this TIF to our district. The village board has also unanimously, or through consensus matters, approved the idea of seeking this TIF. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. Georgia.
We have 3 other TIFs in the village. In the northeast corridor, we have the 2 Lawndale, the Lincoln Tui. However, the proposed one on Devon has no developers waiting to do anything with the properties there. When all the taxing bodies come together, they're concerned about their losses if that new TIF goes into place. Right now, we still do not have all the information that we need. This matter has been postponed until April 16th, when all the taxing bodies can put in their opinions about it, when we see if we need to stop a TIF that's in existence early, or if we can use other monies from TIFs to do things. The purpose of this is to make the corridor more accessible to business. However, those small plots of land there do not lend themselves easily to the developer's wishes. Right now, I don't think we have all the information in to make a sound decision for this, because there are theories it's going to cost the taxpayers more money. Misinformation is out there. We have to get all the facts on the table and make sure that we have developers waiting to do something with this property when the TIF goes into place. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. Mr. Moy.
TIFs. Where does the money come from? The village gets their money, the schools get their money, and if we put $25 million in the project on Devon, where does the money come from? It's going to come from the taxpayers who are not in the TIF. That's the problem. And I have a study here from a professor from the University of Illinois that cites districts hinder growth. Okay? He did a study where for 200 suburbs, and he could find no conclusive economic development value from TIFs. So why not use our proposal? 0.25% increase in home rule sales tax, which create $500,000 to $700,000 in additional revenue we can use to allocate economic development. This doesn't have to come on real estate taxes. We can do this otherwise. Other communities are moving toward this direction. Niles, for the Gulf Mill development, the shopping center is proposing to increase the home rule sales tax so they can generate money to provide improvements in that community, in that area. So why is the TIF so damn hard to understand? It's not. Money's got to come from somewhere, and it comes from the taxpayers, Lincolnwood. And every time I talk to people regarding real estate taxes, and the first thing I say to them, we have too many TIFs in this area. Let's see it.
Thank you, Mr. Moy. The second question will be answered by Ms. Talganis. Shore Galleries wants to expand and add a 16-lane firing range. Where do you stand on this issue? Would you be for or against the expansion?
I am not for the expansion. The reason being that there were too many variances asked for this business. They were too close to the school. They were too close to the bike path. They were not grandfathering in an existing business. They were creating a new business as one of the rules. They also had the problem with the neighbors and noise. The two buildings were mortared together, and the noise from the one would annoy the other side, perhaps causing them to leave. So you're not balancing one new business by losing another business. There was a great discrepancy in the amount of parking needed for this facility. According to our existing rules and the footage and the amount of parking that's available, there would be none, only 2 spaces. The advice was to use the municipal lots. The municipal lots are not that large. They would not take over all the capacity from the gun range having 15 shooting lanes. The problem was said that we are losing a great deal of money from it. For this gun range to really create funds, it would have to probably work and have 260 days, it's a business year, with about 144 users a day, and 720 users per week to generate some revenue on amounts that have been bantered around in the village of $75,000. There would be someone in there round the clock. This kind of business is not what the community wants. They have mentioned that they have been asked to go to other villages, yet they keep coming back. The last time they withdrew their offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. Peter, you have the floor.
In 1994, the village passed an ordinance which prohibited gun stores and shooting galleries within a half a mile of a school, a park, or any kind of library recreational activities. Shore knew at the time that his passage that he wouldn't be able to relocate. What's the reason why we passed the ordinance? Because we felt that the gun shop was not appropriate for our community. Therefore, he knew that whatever problems he have relocating or expanding the business, he's not going to be able to do it unless the village changed the ordinance. And it's come up 3 times, and 3 different times, 3 different boards have said no to this. So what's the problem? It's not appropriate in our community.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mr. Terry, you're up.
Thank you. These are tough issues. The first thing I want to tell all of you is I am not a gun person. I've never owned a gun, I don't shoot guns, and I certainly don't like guns in terms of getting into the wrong hands. Do I believe that sportsmen ought to be able to practice target shooting and go out hunting? I think that's reasonable. And I believe most of you, and certainly most of the rural areas, would support that notion. But let's talk about Shore and what really happened in the situation. Let's do a time frame. Shore came to the village board and asked what we thought about having a gun range here in Lincolnwood. He was unanimously told that it was a good idea. The next day, Shore thought that he should make a clarification that this move would include a new facility, a gun range. He wanted to move it to a district, a manufacturing district, which had little or no traffic, was nowhere as far away as it could be from any really difficult situation with a park or a school. It was, in fact, in a very secluded place. It was, to us in the board at the time, a pretty good idea for the move. The gun range issue became tantamount when a disgruntled neighbor, worrying about noise, wanted to subterfuge the purchase of the Pearl property so that he could purchase it. It was, in fact, all a matter of seeking to gain an upper hand, and that led to a pretty vitriolic mailing to the entire village and turned the issue into guns versus zoning.
It's been 2 minutes. Ms. Talganis, you have a rebuttal, and that'll be followed by Mr. Moy.
Thank you. I don't think the problem is just the noise here. The problem was friends helping friends. A mayor taking sides with someone in the community, sitting in on committee meetings with them, and almost endorsing the fact that this should take place. That's the problem. This has nothing to do with Second Amendment rights and guns. Let's not make it a gun issue. This is the issue of using and influencing your position in the wrong way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moy. You have 1 minute.
Mr. Shapiro, who owns the property adjacent to the proposed gun range, bought the property under the premise that there was no way that a gun range was going to be able to place in that property. It's stated in the ordinance, not within a half a mile of the parks, schools, or library. So, if he owns the property, what do you think he expected when he got the proposal that a gun range was going to go in? And then he wasn't given the opportunity, a fair opportunity to present his case. If I was a resident and somebody bought a home next to mine and wanted to put a variation there, wouldn't I have the right to present my case as why I would be against the variation? That's the case it should be. That's what I talk about, process and transparency. That's what we need, not this garbage about guns and stuff like that.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mr. Terry, do you have a rebuttal, or?
Surely do.
Mr. Terry, you have the floor.
I sat in on meetings. I sat in on open meetings that were public hearings on the issue. I sat in the seats just like you do. I made no kind of movement to influence anyone, and I walked out without saying a word to anybody for all those meetings. So suddenly, there's an issue with I took sides. I took the side of fairness. I wanted that hearing to be conducted as fair as possible. Shapiro never came forward and talked about an ordinance of restricting guns. He never came here and mentioned that. That's contrived by you, Mr. Moy, and I find it rather disconcerting that you would even bring that up. It was never brought up during the hearings. So for me, it was a matter of fairness and openness, and I have been all of that in everything I have done in front of you, and I have insisted on it in all of my dealings.
Thank you, and we actually have two more rebuttals, and I'm going to allow we have a healthy discussion going on a hot button issue. Ms. Targanis, you have the floor, followed by Mr. Moore. You have 1 minute, and Mr. Terry, if you want to rebuttal after them, that's fine, but then we'll move on to the third question.
Thank you. Again, the process was abused, and that is the problem. When the meeting was called and there was an open meeting, yes, the mayor was presiding. However, anytime someone from the opposition spoke, a room full of people from the gun control, and then we had experts trying to give their testimony, and they were cut short. We had people not even in the village talking. I saw the meetings, I heard them. They overran the time limits and nobody stopped them. They allowed them to speak. The experts were hardly given a fair share of their time. Thank you.
There was a letter published in the Skokie Patch from Mr. Shore that was trying to solicit support for Mr. Terry and his trustees. And in that letter, which George has a copy of, it states that, please support my friend, Jerry Terry. Well, to me, there might be a potential conflict of interest there where that was not disclosed at any time during the process. Maybe he didn't want to know at that time. Maybe he did. I don't know. But that, to me, is clear evidence there was a problem.
Mr. Terry, and then we'll move on to the third question.
I'm sort of flabbergasted by all of this stuff. Georgia mentions that people didn't get to talk. That's just not true. We made sure that everybody who came, every hearing, was able to talk for the length of 3 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever it was at the time, and we used a timer to do that. And for anybody in this room to be shaking their heads, that isn't the case. You just weren't aware of what was going on. Mr. Moy, it's remarkable, some of the things that you've come up with so far, and I look forward to continuing this debate to see what else you have contrived, because I don't know how you could draw a line from the fact that Mr. Shore wrote a letter that I had anything to do with it. I had nothing to do with it, and it certainly wasn't written during the time of those hearings. So why would that be some sort of a conflict?
Thank you. It's been 1 minute. Mr. Moore, you will be answering the third question.
It's not Shores anymore?
I'm sorry?
It's not Shores anymore?
No more Shores, but I'm sure we're going to get plenty of the same for this one. In regards to the Purple Hotel, what do you feel is the most realistic solution?
I think it's a fluid situation where things are changing constantly as to what the best future for that site is. Initially, when I looked at the site prior to Mr. Weiss coming forward with his proposal, I thought it would be best for all 3 properties to be demolished and developed as one parcel. Okay, and Mr. Weiss and Mr. Frank called me around a month and a half ago, and I met with him at the Wi-Fi building and discussed his plans. And looking at it, I am still not convinced that's the best direction right now, but I am willing to accept his plans and move forward and monitor closely on the progress of that plan. Some of the proposals he's making, I think, aren't going to work, like the pinstripes as far as a sports bar. The pinstripes is no longer, I think they're closed in Northbrook, so I just find it hard that they would expand. That's my answer.
Thank you, Georgia. You have the floor.
Okay. Regarding the Purple Hotel, I've sat in on the meetings as well. Mr. Weiss has proposed rehabilitating the building, but a bit of a problem is that every time it comes forward, some piece of the pie is missing. I know right now at this point they're the only ones that have bid on the property and taken it over. So I suggest that we give them the opportunity to go forward, but also to start putting some very stringent time restraints and making them responsible for meeting deadlines and timelines. We are aware in this difficult economic state that it's not that easy to get people in flag hotels to come in, but we also need to move on it and not have it vacant for 2 years, and also to insist on what will come to the outlots of the property. Mr. Weiss claims he has to get the hotel up and running, and that would be good, because we would get a lot of taxes from that, because we have hotel taxes. But we can't let him take too much time at this development. We also have the option, if all else fails, the village can tear it down and be the first lien holder on the property, and that would give the village the opportunity to consider and go out and find a new developer. Right now, I'm willing to give Mr. Weiss the chance to prove himself. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. Mr. Terry.
I'm surprised that my two opponents here actually claim that they have listened in and understand this issue. I was the only one when this thing started who was supportive of doing something with that property by the Weiss group. In addition to that, have you not read the Economic Development Commission's thoughtful paper on what will happen to that property if we don't move forward at this time with Weiss and give him the time he needs? Who is coming there to build on it? We have a chance here, and Mr. Weiss has a chance to bring in sales tax revenue, property tax revenue, and a hotel tax, along with all kinds of synergy that will put back the jewel of this village for 30 years before it went another direction. This is not the time to put pressure and time frames, because your time frames have no beginning. We don't know when it's ever going to get started. He put $10 million of his own money with his partners into that property. He has no bond on it. He has no loan on that money. It's $10 million of skin in the game. And I think it behooves everyone in this village to be positive about that producing revenue and positive about the importance of bringing back the Purple Hotel.
Thank you, Jerry. You will get to answer the fourth question. What do you believe effective communication with Lincolnwood residents should look like?
It should look like this. The residents are critically important to this village, and they have a great interest in whatever happens that comes from the bench behind me. And it behooves a mayor to take the time to talk to every one of his constituents who calls or has some problem that he needs resolution for. And I've done that. And if you talk to your neighbors, you'll find that I'm a guy who, if you call me, comes to your home or comes to see you somewhere about the problem you have and gives you the time in my office if you need that, or arranges to help you meet with staff. Because I think when you walk into this village chamber, you need to know that the 7 people up here are on your side as well as the village's side, but they're your neighbors and they're your friends. And you shouldn't have to feel intimidated when you come in here that you're an annoyance. So that's what communication is for me. In terms of the board, I think we're all professionals. I don't think you'll see a problem with a board that is angry with the mayor or thinks the mayor's a tough guy or golly knows what else Mrs. Teleganis has in her lexicon from some of her counselors. But I hope she'll be kind to me.
Thank you, Mr.
My turn? Well, it's true that we do have a democracy, and that's the best part of being in America. And of course, the board serves the whole community, and that's wonderful. But the question of outside of that, how can we reach the members that are in Lincolnwood? We have young families, they have different interests. We have retired people, they have different interests. Businesses have different interests. What I propose is that we start having open town hall meetings. It's going to take time to establish them. We can ask residents to come to town hall meetings. They can be set up in different locations in the village. People can express their ideas in something that may not be as an austere room as this to them. They might feel more laid back and willing to share with us. We should also have meetings with the businesses and see what their needs are and try and meet them. They have a great stake in this village, and sometimes they're not heard. I would even invite other villages to come in and let's have forums with them and with the residents here in Lincolnwood. We need to open it up so that people feel comfortable, perhaps in other locations, so that we can get a good sense of what people want in the village. Thank you.
I sort of felt left out there when he didn't accuse me of anything. But anyway, what Jerry described is everybody who's mayor's job. That's his job. So when people call, he answers the questions and tries to solve the problem. That's no different than the job that I did, or the job that Madeline Grant did, or the job that French Olay did. That's the part of the normal job that every mayor has. As far as the village, say the village letter, that's so important. It's like the State of the Union message. We should send out a letter that includes what our projects that we're working, what economic development projects we're working on, how's the financial state of the economy, things that residents want to know about. We don't want to know how many trees are getting cut or how many streets are getting swept. That's trivial. That's just minor details. In fact, when I was mayor, I visited every business in this village and trying to find out exactly whether there's anything we can do as a village to try to solve their problems. That's what communications is all about. And we should have more open forums and town meetings so residents can come and listen to what we have to say.
Thank you. The next question will be answered by Georgia first. Oh, yeah, if you want a rebuttal, just look at me, make eye contact so I know. But you have a 1 minute rebuttal, Mr. Terry.
I'm surprised here. For one, my understanding is that staff wrote most of your commentary in the newsletter. Secondly, you need to get out of Lincolnwood if you want to enjoy and understand the other municipalities. There's an organization called the Northwest Municipal Conference, which is a consortium of 42 of the neighbors along the North Shore and the Northwest suburbs. That's how you understand what's going on with others. I don't see any problem with town meetings if you wanted to conduct those, if anybody wants to conduct those. I just feel that the communication that I have done has been effective. And people know what I feel. They understand my positions on things, and I've done my best.
Mr. Moore, you have the floor.
Yes. I will swear on a stack of Bibles that no staff ever wrote anything I wrote, okay? I will challenge that to my death, because I write everything. I put my time in the evenings to write my speeches that are not redundant. I write a new speech every time I speak in public. So if anybody accuses me of having someone write my stuff, that's wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Moy. You actually have first dibs on the next question. According to village records, the village has an unfunded pension liability of $19.3 million. What do you feel should be done to address this issue?
We should fund it. But the problem is how? The problem with pension is that there are mistakes that are made during the actuarial process. Mistakes that decide how long a person lives, mistakes on how the market reacts in certain situations, mistakes about what the projected rate of return is. And unless you're 100% right and you're the great actuary, there's going to be always shortfall in the pension plan. So moving forward, if we don't fund the pension plan, something is going to happen. Either you're going to have to raise the retirement age, increase the contributions from employees, or reduce the benefits. It's an equation. One has to equal one, not two. So the only way you can do it is to find a way to fund the pension or change it.
Ms. Salganis.
Okay. Well, this is something that I'm going to certainly consider, and I'm worried too about the teachers' pensions that may come back to the village in the long run, as well as what Peter said about how you can't really tell the age of the people involved. I would have to study this more closely. We have an excellent finance director here at the village, and I'm sure he can educate me on it, and with good judgment, I can find, hopefully, ways to make sure that we come out even.
Well, finally, one that I can answer with great skill. The issue is not so much the problem of actuarial differences, as Mr. Moy points out. The problem is created in Springfield, where continued sweeteners by our state legislators has led to an incredible ramp-up in the cost of pensions, far beyond what was attainable through our investments as pensions and our employee contributions and the contributions from the municipalities. When the markets crashed, the lights went out, and the ramp for reaching full funding suddenly turned to a downhill ride. The activity with actuarials is that there is a two-pronged opportunity for municipalities. They can either use their own actuary or they can use the state actuary. And that creates a variation, much as you can choose one doctor over another doctor with different approaches to how they are going to fix the problem. The problem is not fixable currently with what we are doing now in Springfield. There are some issues that will come to pass in this next term. One of the things that the mayors could do, or every mayor should do, is to get to Springfield and push hard on the legislators to stop the sweeteners. The unions, God bless them, fire and police, are the ones that we pay. We do not pay the other 5 state government pensions. So they offer sweeteners to the unions, and the municipalities get the bill. That means you and I.
Thank you. The next question will be answered by Georgia. Would you be for a sales tax increase in Lincolnwood, yes or no?
No. I think think we have to go back to our budgets. We can see line by line what needs to be in it and what needs to be eliminated. We don't need to raise the sales taxes right now. If we are more frugal, we are in very good shape financially in the village right now. We have good reserve funds, and I don't think we need to raise the sales taxes.
My proposal is to raise 0.25%, okay? It has nothing to do with our budget. It has to do with transferring the burden of economic development from real estate taxes to sales tax. It's a simple question, simple answer, okay? And to talk about taxes, both our candidates who stand in front of you is voted to a board that raised a 1% restaurant tax. There's no restaurant tax in Skokie. Maybe is that a reason why the restaurants like Libertar isn't coming to Lincolnwood and rather going to Skokie?
Thank you, Mr. Terry. You have the floor.
Thank you. Increasing the sales tax will kill business. It's that simple. They compete against municipalities next door to us, and if you shrink the distance, people will go to wherever it is cheaper to buy the same product. It's foolish to do that. We raise the tax on gas, and our gas stations were very distraught over it and very burdensome by it. Those are regressive approaches to financing. They are to be avoided wherever possible. A sales tax revenue will lead to more darkness in business in Lincolnwood. That's why we need to operate so that we can have financing that will allow us not to ride the backs of business, not to ride the backs of the taxpayer. And if you understood a little bit more, which I will speak to at the end, about the TIFs and our plans to keep other entities whole, you'll see that it's a very workable kind of tool that municipalities use all over the country.
Thank you. We have a rebuttal by Georgia and then Mr. Moy.
I don't think people appreciate the fact of how much sales tax it takes to reduce your property taxes. It really, to me, is not worth the effort. The other comment about the TIF. If you hurt the schools and the other taxing bodies, the libraries, and everyone in that TIF district, you're upsetting the scale again. And you may end up or you may not end up with paying more property taxes individuals. This is a very delicate situation in balance. So it needs a lot of consideration. It's not something that you just strike across the board that you can make more sales tax and you will lower property taxes.
I think the village collects around $7 to $8 million in real estate taxes. So if I raise $700,000 in sales tax, is that 10% of our revenue? And we did this back in 2005. Go back to the records and see the effect we had on our sales tax revenue. It had absolutely nothing, no effect whatsoever. In fact, other communities are going to be moving toward this goal. People don't realize it, but it's a process that's starting to happen. We cannot continue this spiral of increasing property taxes anymore. It's getting to the point where realtors cannot sell houses because our property taxes are so high that people can't afford the property tax. They can afford the mortgage, but they can't afford the property taxes.
Mr. Terry has a rebuttal.
I just can't reiterate enough to you the importance of not messing with increasing sales tax. It is the killer of business, and business growth is what we are looking for. Drive up and down Lincoln Avenue, drive across on Devon, you'll see it. It's there, it's a problem. We need to address it in order to drive your property taxes, which I pay too, down in the long haul.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. You actually, speaking of business, you have first dibs on this question. What do you think should be done to attract new businesses to Lincolnwood?
We keep going back to the same issue. You have to make things look good. We have properties in this village which are vacant, which have to be improved in terms of what we can improve. In the public part of the buildings would be the lighting, the streets, amenities, and you can see those things and how they look if you'll compare what we have with other downtown areas or other cities right along the north corridor here. You know the towns that I'm referring to. You drive through them all the time. That's how you attract people to come here with their business, because they see how upscale you can be. And right now, we are not upscale enough to attract businesses to be getting in line to come here. We've had some good fortune, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel with this, as Meatheads is going to open. It's a hamburger place, and Jaffa Bagels, finally on the corner of McCormick and Devon, is getting close. But at least there are things that indicate to us that those two properties will come off the vacant and deceased list.
We have some activity in Devon. There have been 7 stores that are now going to move into that area, and that's a good thing. However, our streetscapes need improvement. We do not attract businesses when our town looks worn out, and unfortunately in many places it does. The infrastructure needs some repair, and we have to do something as far as the landscaping. Every time I know we put a tree, it's, oh, how's it going to be watered, and what about the flowers? But when you don't have green space and something that a business wants to attract customers to come to, then you lose the businesses. And this is very important, so we must start doing that. We also can look around at the suburbs near us. They put in nice screens in the windows, they make it look attractive, they advertise. We need to help everyone that comes to Lincolnwood have a list, try and make them understand where their businesses would fit, and assist in this transaction. It's very important to generate businesses, but they will not come unless it's an attractive suburb, and that's where we need to improve. Some of our neighbors have made magnificent strides. One suburb even has a day when it's shop day. They choose one particular store, and everyone meets there to do their shopping. People get to visit each other, talk, and go on to other businesses. That's one way to do it. We need to improve the communication throughout the village so that they will shop and use stores that are in Lincolnwood. Try to keep them in Lincolnwood to spend their money in attractive places. Why not get some type of strip that's all antiques or all boutiques? We have to work a little harder at this. But we have to have a pretty village to attract them to come to, and that needs a little work.
Thank you, Mr. Murray.
I don't think the village is very business friendly, and I will tell you a story which I concur with another resident told me about related to the same problem we had. A developer came to me in 2003, bought the property at Silo. He wanted to buy the 3 homes just to the south of it, knock it down, and expand the lot would be more developable. Unfortunately, the first home decided not to sell. So this developer went through his whole process of trying to find a tenant there. He finally found a bank to come into a property that was probably 6 years, 7 years vacant. And the village said that they wanted $200,000 in the way of street repairs. Street repairs that the village should be responsible for, the intersection of Crawford and Lincoln. Well, the person never came back, the applicant never came back. The strip mall went bankrupt. It's defaulted on. I think that has an effect on your reputation. If you have a developer coming in and he wants to develop a property, we should be partners with them. We shouldn't be trying to get the upper hand on them. We're 50-50 here. We should make it more useful or more user-friendly. And I would propose that we also change some ordinances, like the liquor license. We need to add another category of liquor licenses where it would allow large boxes like Mariano's to come in, where it would be an ancillary use rather than a liquor store, where they can feel comfortable. If they come in here, they'll be able to get a liquor license. That's it.
Mr. Terry, you have a 1-minute rebuttal, and then that will be followed by Ms. Telganis.
Mr. Moy and I almost agree on this thing. So that's an interesting start. It is scary, Pete. It is scary. In 2003, Mr. Moy, where were you? Was that your regime or was that Madeline still? That was your regime, and so you're talking about business friendly, and you're saying, you're telling the story of the developer and these things. What did you do about it? The point is, we agree, we need to be more business friendly. We need to correct our ordinances and get rid of the obstacles to business. We need to work with our staff here and put their feet to the fire to bring in business and to help make things easier rather than more difficult when some business is coming into the village. And that is the issue that we have faced as part of the problem.
Thank you, Ms. Telganis, followed by Mr. Moy.
I guess it is getting scary. I do agree to some extent. However, I don't think we can classify the village altogether as being non-friendly towards businesses. I think there are efforts made to be friendly to businesses. However, there is, I think, a way to streamline the process. It takes a long time sometimes to get through the Planning Commission and the Zoning Commission, and if that could be expedited, perhaps the businesses would be here. Okay. She made me stop. Perhaps the businesses would be more amicable to coming to our village. Thank you.
I'm not business friendly. Maybe you didn't hear what I had to say as far as to the record that was on the website. Anyway, 2003, Lover Motors came to me. They just sold all their properties in downtown, and they needed an answer from us as to how they can avoid taxes by reinvesting in another parcel similar to what they sold in Lincolnwood. So they wanted to know if they can go around doing the PUD step by step rather than all once, okay? So that's how we proceeded. We proceeded to do a step-by-step PUD where it allowed Mercedes a stock of trust where they can invest the money into another property without paying tax on it. They're very happy. Talk to them. They love the increase in property the cars can sell and another Porsche dealership in there. That's what you call business friendly.
Thank you. The next question, I believe Mr. Terry has the floor. And this is the final question. We'll end on a light note. We received several questions regarding the appearance of the village, with some saying it's run down and neglected. What projects would you propose to beautify the village?
It troubles me that you get questions that say we're run down and neglected. We aren't sharp anymore, and I don't pretend to say we are the greatest. But this is still a good place to live and to work. And the projects that I'd like to see include a number of things with respect to our parks. I envision Centennial Park becoming a great venue at some point soon for a lot of music concerts and a lot of exciting activities in the little amphitheater that was built there. And I see other places in the village that could use changes, of course, in landscaping and streetscaping, and we need to partner with our businesses. And you do that because you have become a proponent of growth, and you want to extend your hand to the businesses and help them succeed. And once they understand that they're more willing to come forward and to get involved with some sort of partnership in putting money into making the village look better.
Thank you, Ms. Telganis.
I think the village does need streetscaping. I've already mentioned that. And I am very proud of the parks that we have. A lot of the work in the parks has been done through grants. Lately at Centennial Park and such, it has been due to an 80% grant filling in the price tag. We should start looking at the streets now. There should be incentives. There are many villages that have the neighborhoods taking over empty lots and making them look attractive. I suggested that at the corner of my street on Toohey and Crawford for a long time, but was told even if I put flower boxes that didn't destroy the property's cement and rolling trash, that I couldn't do that. But there are means of doing things using the village residents who I'm sure would like to improve their neighborhoods and their streetscapes. The other thing is money allocated for that. It has to be hopefully through grants that we can help beautify the village. We are doing some work with the parks. We have done some work with the lamp posts and such, but this kind of work has to continue. A pretty village, a green village will attract businesses. It will attract young families that grow up here and find it a family-friendly village, help the entire economy of the village and the whole look of the village.
Thank you, Mr. Moy.
I think there's probably two sections I can answer this question. First is that we need to attract new businesses in Lincolnwood. The new businesses will provide upgrades to the facilities like the Walgreens and the MB Financial, the landscape that comes with it. And the other part of the answer is that we as a village have to be more vigilant as far as some of the eyesores that appear in the village. And I'll give you an example. Size Bowling Alley had 2x4s supporting the walls probably for 2 or 3 years before I approached a member of the planning board and says, what's going on with this Size Bowling Alley? Is it a collapse or is it going to what's going to happen there? So we finally called the village, and they've got them to demolish the property. I mean, that is an eyesore, what appeared there for 2 or 3 years. And if we watch out what the eyesores are and correct those, that's halfway getting to the beautification of the community.
We have a rebuttal by Mr. Terry, followed by Ms. Telganis.
One of the most important factors in this day and age is public safety. By that I'm talking about our police force and how you feel about living in the village of Lincolnwood. Most of us feel safe and secure, and I think we need to continue to work harder at it because times have changed and there is way too much in terms of violence on the streets, and it filters in and touches our borders. It's a position that I believe we can achieve, but we cannot just dismiss ourselves and think that we have no problems in our village. We have them. We need to be more vigilant in our parks, and we need to be sure that this community remains strong and safe.
Thank you, Ms. Telganis, followed by Mr. Moore. You have 1 minute.
Okay. Regarding the streetscapes and such, it's a matter of ordinance control as well. We have community ordinance officers. However, sometimes they seem to ignore what's going on as far as people's lawns, the neighborhoods, the storefronts, what debris is around a store, behind the store, and that lends to a bad streetscape in the village. We must be enforcing all of our ordinances and making sure everyone is held responsible for keeping a neat, clean village, and that all the businesses, especially the ones that deal with food, have the containers closed and in the proper order for pickup. Thank you.
George, could you repeat that question again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I thought I answered the wrong question based on what Mr. Terry's rebuttal was.
Absolutely. The question read,
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
we received several questions regarding the appearance of the village, with some saying it is run down and neglected. What projects would you propose to beautify the village?
Okay, I get the answer. Okay, thank you.
That concludes our questions. I randomly drew names for closing statements. Jerry, you have 2 minutes to make your closing statement.
I'd like to thank everyone involved in tonight's forum, including the Skokie Patch, the candidates, the press, and those who came and listened like you, along with the folks at home. It's events like this which allow our voters to make informed decisions. As I listened to each speaker and their views on what needs to happen over the next 4 years, a number of things became clear to me, and I hope clear to you. The mayor works with many people on boards and commissions who spend countless hours to do their best work. It is not an easy task to fill all the positions with diverse perspectives. Are my opponents going to give proper weight to the recommendations, or will they be influenced by one person? A mayor must understand that our quality of life is enhanced by healthy business growth. There is only one person who has spoken this evening who seems to get the big picture. I gave you concrete examples, the others gave you generalities or made petty swipes at me. No action. I've spent 8 years looking at the big picture and moving the village ahead, including leading us during the Great Recession. I've identified what still needs completing, and what new initiatives need to get underway. At the top of the list is the Purple Hotel. The other 2 candidates seem to be afraid of TIFs as if it's a dirty word. TIFs are a vital tool of redevelopment for a depressed property. And yes, they can be done without financial harms to our schools. Are you happy with Lincoln Avenue or the present state of businesses on Devon? It'll take a TIF, not a regressive sales tax increase, to bring new development. In my opening statement, I said only one mayoral candidate has the proven ability to make things happen. The choice is simple. Re-elect a proven leader or risk losing what has taken 8 years to achieve. I hope you will decide to vote for me on April 9th, or early voting, Gerald C. Turry, punch number 13.
Thank you, Mr. Terry.
Thank you for listening and participating. Happy Easter, happy Passover, and good evening.
Thank you. Mr. Moy, you have the floor. 2 minutes closing statement.
To summarize my goals, I want to hold the line or reduce real estate taxes and user fees. I want to be more proactive in economic development, be transparent and fair in the legislative process, properly prioritize our infrastructure projects, rejuvenate our volunteer spirit, and instill pride in our community again. I hope that I have answered some of your questions about who I am and what I want to accomplish. Regardless of the results of the election, I feel I have succeeded in creating a situation where Lincoln residents have choices, a situation where many of the issues that have been kept quiet are now being openly discussed, and a circumstance where business as usual will not be tolerated without consideration of the needs of the entire community. As I stated last year, elections are not popularity contests. I do not want residents to vote for me because I'm Asian, nor do I want them to vote for me because they're my friends. I want residents to vote for me because of my experience, my knowledge, my problem-solving prowess, my ideas, my record, my passion, my honesty, my integrity. But most importantly, I want residents to vote for me because they believe in me and my forward vision. I want to commend Mayoral, Jennifer Martin, as well as Jean and Reese for their courage and commitment in seeking public office for the first time. Running for public office can be difficult, intimidating, and time-consuming. We need more residents like you who will stand up and be willing to serve our community. As a result of this competitive election process, I believe our community will come together to do what's best to move forward. And toward the end, I hope you will participate in the move for change by voting for the Forward Vision Party on April 9th. Thank you, George, Natasha, and Mark Collins for working so hard to make this debate happen. Thank you for coming and watching. To all, good night.
Thank you, Mr. Moy. Ms. Telganis, you have the floor.
Thank you to the Skokie Patch and George Sluffo and his staff for making tonight possible. And thank you for being a wonderful audience here and those at home. I opened the debate stating that Lincolnwood is a great place to raise a family, and I still believe it is. I also believe I am the best candidate to bring change, freshness to the position of mayor. I will care about every resident, not just my friends. I will work hard to ensure businesses are treated fairly. The current mayor has created an untrustworthy atmosphere that needs change, and I am the person to bring that change. There was a clear vote of no confidence from his entire board of trustees. Here's a list of accomplishments claimed by Mayor Turi. 4 years from now, when you read my accomplishments in the village, the list will be dedicated to the people on the boards, commissions, administration, and staff who worked with the mayor to make things possible. It is not going to be me, me, me. Peter, thanks for 8 years, but you haven't been around for 8 years either in any leadership role in the village. Change leads to progress. I have the time, skills, and desire to be mayor. I am proud to make it a full-time job. My slate, the Independent Party of Lincolnwood, has the only candidates in this election who have committed themselves to years of service. Beryl Herman, the clerk, Larry Elster, service on the board, John Swanson for his work on zoning, parks, and village, Green Grant, Scratch for school districts and park board chairman. My slate will ensure the interests and concerns of all the residents and business owners in Lincolnwood. I promise that we will govern with integrity, transparency, for the good of the village. Please vote for me, Georgia Talaganis, and the Independent Party of Lincolnwood. Thank you.
Thank you, and you guys can all give these great candidates a round of applause. This is a great debate. Thank you.